Okay, everyone. So this is going to be a little bit on the shorter side of an episode. I just kind of thought this would be a little bit fun to just share some frugal tips. I made a list of 10. I was going to originally call this episode my top 10 favorite frugal tips, and I just couldn't narrow down to 10 favorites, so I just kind of have 10 that because I just had so many things that kept coming to mind. So I just made a list of 10, and then I figured periodically I can do an episode like this and maybe share some other things, or if I can even find some new ones that I haven't tried yet, I'll just share them with you. Maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. But that's what we're going to do today. You'll notice that the first probably 4 to 5, it looks like the first 5, I guess, are kind of food related. That seems to be where I always go when I'm trying to be frugal, is in the area of food. So you've probably heard some of these before from me, and obviously from many other people in previous episodes I've done, maybe related to meal planning or budgeting, things like that. But anyway, this is the list that I came up with. So my number one frugal tip that I'm going to share with you today, which you've definitely heard from me before if you listen to some of my other episodes, is planning your meals. So I have to say that this is one of my favorite frugal tips. Like, that definitely would be in my top 10 if I truly decided to come up with a real top 10 list for me, because there's just so much opportunity to save money in planning your meals. You can control if you need to go all cheap this week, or if you're going to throw in some expensive meals, or if you need to go meatless because you really got to save a lot of money. There's just a lot of flexibility in planning your meals. So I think that that is a really, really important frugal tip, that if you're trying to get your finances under control, that's somewhere that you probably definitely want to take a look and try and make some changes there. Number 2, make it a challenge to use up your leftovers. I have an episode on zero food waste. This is something I'm really, really always thinking about, trying not to waste food, because when you buy food and wind up throwing it in the garbage, you're basically just throwing money away. And plus it just doesn't feel good to waste food, you know? So this is something that, you know, I guess sometimes people might see like an empty fridge and they're like, oh my gosh, we have no food. You know, we need more stuff. I love when I see an empty fridge when I'm getting close to going grocery shopping, because it means to me that we've used up all the stuff that we bought. I love when I see that there's all the leftovers are gone. The fruit that I bought is used up, you know, the milk gets used up, like any of that kind of stuff. It just makes me feel really good when I'm approaching that next food shopping day and I see the fridge really start to clear up, because I know we used up everything. So, I mean, there's so many different ways you can use up your leftovers. Obviously, you could use it for lunches. That's what I do a lot of, to use a lot of them up. I'll also use them for side dishes, even if it doesn't like really like match with the meal as a side dish. There's been times where we're having like, I don't know, some random meal, and then I'll just put like a piece of meatloaf and like heat it up and just stick it on the counter with the other stuff, just because usually sometimes someone will take a piece of it and you get rid of some of it, and you know, just kind of using things up that way as like, you know, like a leftover night, or just adding leftovers as side dishes. And then also, of course, if you have things that can be frozen, to freeze them. A funny story is, I had recently got a whole bunch of milk from my neighbor whose son was getting it from the school, like the little milk cartons, and they didn't drink that type of milk, so they gave it to us, and I had way too much, so I froze it. This was actually the first time in my life that I had tried like the freezing milk. So I froze the little cartons, and I was taking them out every like couple of days, just a couple of little cartons, and putting them in my fridge to defrost. So one of my kids is like, these milks are past the expiration date. I'm like, yeah, but they're not expired. Don't throw them out. They've been in the freezer for 3 weeks. Of course they're showing that they're past the expiration date. So anyway, that was just kind of funny. So that was an instance where we got all this milk. I didn't know what to do with it. I froze it, and now I'm using it up. And I actually haven't had to buy milk in a couple weeks, because we've just been using all of these accumulation of all these little milks that they had brought us, that the son was getting for like his weekly school meals that they weren't able to use. So that was number 2. Number 3, bring your lunch to work. If you're not already doing this, I definitely suggest maybe doing it at least a couple days a week. It's so much less expensive to bring your lunch to work than to buy food. Plus it's healthier, and it gives you a good way to use up those leftovers. So that's just a simple one. Try bringing your lunch to work. Number 4, I had written down, stop the Starbucks or local coffee shop, fancy coffees, lattes, that type of thing. Not to stop it completely, to stop it on a regular basis where it's just part of like your regular routine. That's a pretty good frugal tip, and it actually then makes it more fun when you do go there, because it can be more kind of like a treat or for like a special occasion. And you can still make coffee at home and make it fun. You could buy different flavors, you could buy different like creamers and all that kind of stuff. I know my kids for a little while were doing like the whipped coffee. So there's all kinds of, my kids are teenagers, by the way. They were doing like that whipped coffee thing that all the kids had started doing, and then I know adults were doing it too, but for some reason the kids got really into it. But there's lots of things you can do to still make it fun for those coffee drinks without having to spend, $4 or $5 every time you go in to like a Starbucks or like a fancy coffee shop. Number 5, this is my last kind of food related item. So, and again, these are just tips. Obviously, some of these you'll like, some of these you won't. Just throwing these out there. So this one is to stop buying so many things to drink. So, what I mean by this is if you could try and drink water for the most part. Now you might be buying water. Like we have a water cooler in our house, so we do pay for water, but we buy like the big 5-gallon jug. It gets delivered, so it's pretty inexpensive. But anyway, I'm not saying not to. You might have to buy water, but things like sodas, iced tea, seltzer water, juices, all of those things really add a lot to your grocery budget when you're buying those, like enough to drink like all throughout the week, every single week. So a tip is to try and cut back on those. Maybe just get enough so that you can have it for like on a Friday night as like a little treat or whatever. Or we usually just get them like if we're having like a party or something, like we're doing like a little celebration, or maybe we're having a game day or whatever. We'll be like, oh, we're gonna get some soda or whatever, or some special iced teas or things like that. But if you take a look, you'll see those really do add up. And if you're really trying to stick to a tight grocery budget, you can definitely save some money there by cutting back some of those items that you're basically just drinking. Okay, so my next one, the first one, number 6, that is not food related, is to not go shopping just to go shopping. A lot of people that I know will just kind of randomly go out to the shoe store or to the mall or to Target or whatever, and they don't have anything on their list. They're just kind of going to go shopping. I've never really kind of done that so much. Usually if I'm going to the store, it's because I have something that I'm going to the store for. But if that is something that you kind of usually do, a frugal tip to save money is to just limit the number of trips you make to the store and try not to go out shopping just to go out shopping, because then you're just tempting yourself to go out and buy things that you didn't need and probably had no intention to buy otherwise. And when you do have to run out to the store, really stick to your list and try and buy only what you went there for. I know years ago, before I got really good at this, being frugal, I used to like go into Target or Costco or whatever, and I'd have like, I don't know, maybe like, it's not Costco obviously, but like maybe Target, I'd have like a $15 item to buy, and next thing I know, I'd come out of Target $100 later. I'm like, what the heck just happened? That never happens to me anymore. I'm so intentional about going in, getting exactly what I need and leaving. And I even just cringe if I see something that I really truly do need that I wind up buying, because I'm like, no, that wasn't on my list. So definitely give that a try, limiting your shopping trips really to just when you need to actually go out and get something. Number 7, I have, if you do use credit cards, I know there's mixed feelings on credit cards or not, whether you should use them or not, but if you do, my suggestion, my frugal tip, which is kind of related to tying into your budget, which I didn't mention as a frugal tip because I thought that was kind of obvious, but as far as keeping track of your budget, this frugal tip is, if you are using a credit card, when you come home, the day you make that purchase, you need to record that expense against your budget like immediately, unless you have an app that's already automatically tracking your credit card purchases. But if you're using like Excel or some other type of manual tracking system, it's so important when you come home that day, as soon as you made that purchase, to record that item against your budget, because you will think that you're going to remember that you spent that $30 here that week, this $12 here that day, and before you know it, the bill will come and you'll have to pay the bill. Say maybe it's, I don't know, $200, and it's now going to come out of that week's budget because you didn't make sure you accounted for all of those items as they occurred during those previous weeks. So what I do is I record the expense as if it was cash out, like I put it against my budget, but then I put the money aside so that when the bill comes, I already have all the money aside for all the purchases that were made. So then it's like I'm just paying it when it comes, but everything's already been applied against the budget and there's no budget issues when it comes time to pay the bill. I have had in the past where I would think I would remember, or it would just be like, oh, it was just $12, or it was just this or just that, and then when the bill came, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about some of these things. So that's my suggestion. Record them as soon as it happens so that you do not take a chance of forgetting about it. That was number 7. Number 8 is shop for holiday and birthday gifts throughout the year. So if you are someone that likes to go shopping, just to go shopping, here's a way that you can actually kind of make that work without buying anything for yourself. Just go out shopping for other people. If there's any birthdays you have to purchase for a gift for someone at any point in the year, it doesn't matter when it is, you can buy it 6 months before their birthday, it doesn't matter. If you need holiday gifts or anything like that, if you want to just go out shopping and look for gifts. You have more time to think about it. You can get a really thoughtful gift. You can probably get a really good idea because you're not in a hurry to have to buy a gift for a certain person. You can just kind of take your time and look around, and if something's like, oh wow, that would be great for this person and it's on sale, then go ahead and buy it. I definitely do that when I'm out. If I see something that I know would be good for someone, I've even purchased things like on the day after Christmas sale that I put aside and saved for the following Christmas. I have a spot where I keep them. It's especially good for things like teacher gifts, or if you have kids, if you have they have activities or things like that, and you want to get those people gifts. A lot of times, nice hand soaps or lotions will go on sale or stuff like that, and just kind of putting those things aside. If you have any kind of grab bag things that always happen, if you see a cute gift that might be good for one of those kind of generic gift giving things, you can purchase those. So so anything like that, just kind of shopping throughout the year, and it really makes your holidays and those birthday times so much less stressful too, because you already have a lot of the gifts purchased already. So that is tip number 8. Tip number 9 is to buy your clothes at the end of the season. Honestly, I honestly don't buy clothes that much to begin with. But when I do, if I go into Kohl's or I go into one of the stores or whatever, I really don't even ever look at the clothes that are currently in season. I go right to the clearance racks and I just sift through them like crazy. I actually just got myself a really nice fall jacket for this coming fall, 2 weeks ago at Kohl's. It was like $30, and then I had a 20% off. I forget, but it was really inexpensive and it was really nice. So shop those clearance racks for the off-season clothes. And the fun thing about that too, well, one, obviously you're getting a great deal, so you're getting it for way cheaper than it would be if you bought it during the season. But what's fun about it is that if you pack it away like I do, we pack our seasonal clothes away. So I buy it and then I just kind of pack it away, and then when that season comes, you have this brand new thing to wear that you probably have forgotten about by the time the new season comes. So you're still getting new clothes, you're just not getting them in the season when they're selling them. So that's number 9. And then my last tip for today is try to hold off on impulse purchases. So they always say if you want to buy something, you should try and give yourself, I think they say 24 hours to really think about it and then see if you still want it. It doesn't have to be exactly 24 hours. It doesn't have to be a certain amount of time. It's more just about the fact of giving yourself time to think about it and decide if you really want or need this item. So something I can share is what I do is a lot of times I'll go on Amazon on my phone, and I'll be looking for, like, I don't know, some kind of cleaning product or whatever, something that I'm kind of looking for, that I want to see, like, kind of what they have out there, and I'll see something that has good reviews, and I'll be about to buy it, and I don't buy it. What I always do is I add it to the cart, and then I go into the cart and I click save items for later. So I have like this list of things that are kind of in there and saved for later, and I can always scroll through them and kind of see what was in there and if there's anything that I really needed. But by putting it in the cart, I don't have that feeling like, oh, I really want this item, but I know I'm going to forget about it if I don't buy right now. So, because I won't forget about it, it's in there. If I do decide I really need it, all I have to do is go into the cart and look at the things that are listed in there as saved for later. But in the reality, 99% of the time, the things just sit there. Because by the time the next day comes, I'm just like, did I really need that? I don't know. Or sometimes I just completely forget about it. So definitely try out postponing any of those impulse type purchases, and just think about it and make sure if you still really want it, then buy it when some time has passed. But it's just really just giving yourself some time to think about if this is something you really want and if you had the money set aside for it. So that's it. That's the 10. I hope these were could be maybe a little helpful. Maybe there's something in there. I know they're kind of random. Like I said, I just kept having things pop in my head that were frugal tips, and I just kind of jotted them down. I was like, all right, I'm going with this. So I will try and do more of these periodically as other things come up, and with some of the other things that I was thinking of as I was trying to limit myself to these 10. So that's it for today. If you'd like to message me or send me any feedback, you can go to my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Lola's Frugal Life. And you can like the page to follow anything I post on there. You can send me a message through Facebook, or you can post right directly to the Facebook page. If you're interested in joining our private listeners group, you can join that either through a link that's on the Facebook page, or you can go to facebook.com/groups/Lola's Frugal Life and just submit a request to join, and I will accept you and you can join our group. It's kind of small right now, but it's building and we're starting to have nice conversations on there, so it'd be really great if you'd like to join. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and if you would feel up to it, it would be really awesome if you could leave me a nice review or hopefully a 5-star rating. So again, that's it for today. I hope you have a really awesome day, and thank you so much for listening.